Moikka moi! It's Riikka Kovasin here with another video. This time I'm making an art journal spread. For this particular spread I got inspiration from a really old paper collection in my stash. It's from Prima Marketing and has been in my stash for a while because, well, I really love the colors and the theme because there's old typewriters and I haven't got the heart to use it, but this time I thought that it's better to use it than to hoard it for years and years. So first I'm building a background. I'm using two PaperArtsy blue colors and a brayer and kind of mixing them to get this inky blue background. It's a little bit kind of weathered in a way because I'm not doing a solid color layer. Then I'm patterning the layer using a stencil and some wax crayons, but I'm placing the stencil underneath the paper rather than on top, and thus doing this impression of the stencil by using the crayons. I'm first using white one and going over the whole design and then adding some blue touches here and there. I'm also mixing the orientation of my mark making in a way because first there's these diagonals and then I'm trying to get lines on different directions so it's more solid color after those. When I then have the sheet patterned, I cut it in the size to fit inside my art journal. Then I realized that I've treated a little bit too small of an area. So I go around the edges using the same paints and this time just using a sponge to add some color there. It creates this frame kind of thing and then I use a heat tool to dry the paint and then I repeat the patterning using the crayons and the stencil. I'm not aligning the stencil to the background and maybe I should have, but I guess this treatment still tricks the eye enough so it's not kind of jumping that there's these two elements done in separate occasions. Next I'm then turning my attention to the focal point, and for that I'm using one of these typewriters that I cut out from the paper bag and a Tim Holtz paper doll. I'm putting one of these ladies coming out of the typewriter in a way and thus the name of the spread Metamorphosis. It's also inspired by the journaling, which is actually from Kafka. Next, I'm then turning my attention to some embellishments. I used the same colors to color a piece of cardstock, and now I'm turning that into some flowers. I'm stamping this flower design on top using watermark ink and a little bit later then embossing it with white embossing powder. I'm stamping the design 3 times. One of them is a little bit lacking, but I'm thinking that that's still good enough to be used as a layering element. I then sprinkle the powder and heat the embellishments before cutting them out to be used as a layering element for the page. While cutting the typewriter, I also cut some other elements out of the paper pad, which I'm then adding as layering elements in a later stage. When I then have these elements done, I'm adding some scribbles to the background, inking the edges of the focal point, and then securing this piece of an old bedsheet with just craft glue. It's this vintage lace that my mother wanted to save and she gave it to me to be used in crafts, so it's getting a new life that way. As it's fabric, I'm using craft glue also on top to secure that little paper piece in place. Then I'm alternating between the craft glue and some foam tape to get a dimensional cluster going on. As you can see, I already have cut the pages in 2, so there's the line between the 2 pages where the spine will then come later stage, and thus I can mind about that when I'm doing the design. For example, securing the embellishments so that they will fit and stay put, even though I then cut them half in a later stage. When I'm then happy with the design, I cut the pages loose and use double-sided tape to secure them to my art journal. I've also added the journaling in this stage. It's from a little strip. When I then have the 2 pages in my journal, it seems that the layout is lacking a little bit, so I'm adding a little cluster to the top left corner, kind of to balance things out a little bit, because it seems that the right hand page is full of details, while the other page is, well, there's a little bit too much air in there. For the layering, I'm using those stamped elements I included to the kind of middle of the page. I use foam tape to adhere those to get a little bit dimension. And after that, the spread is done. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little video. If you did, please consider subscribing and hit that bell sign to be notified when a new video comes live. I'm wishing you a wonderful August, and I'll be seeing you within a week. Thanks again. Bye!